Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Leaders Worldwide Toastmasters Club. I am Sally Reyes, a member of your Sergeant at Arms team. Please take out your phone and set it to silence. Please help me welcome our president and co-sponsor. She is also an Assistant Division D Director, Distinguished Toastmaster, General Intuitive, and Guardian Angel. The inevitable Cynthia Stott. Take it away, Cynthia.
Thank you, Sally. Just let me find my camera.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Oh, hello. There I am. Hello. I'm so excited that you're here tonight for Leaders Worldwide. We have an exciting program for you. We want to welcome you and welcome our guests too. And maybe we have a little bit of time to say hi. First, I want to welcome Patty Vargas, who is our keynote address tonight. Hi, Patty.
Hi, how are you?
Great. And do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got here and what you want to get out of the session?
Well, how I got here was probably the way many of you get anywhere, is that Linda called me and said, I think this is something that you ought to do. So here I am.
Great.
So I'm anxious to see how this whole process works.
Great. Awesome. And Linda, who are our other guests? I think we had 2 or 3 others.
We have Colette Hughes.
Colette, welcome. Can you tell us where you are, how you got here, and what you want to get out of tonight?
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for the welcome. I am from Michigan, USA, and I learned about this group on Facebook. Not Toastmasters. I've been a Toastmaster since 2013, so I belong to 2 clubs. Unity for Toastmasters, which is a 34-year-old club, and a 5-year-old club, which is called Royal Oak Toastmasters. And I just love our Toastmaster families all around the world. We get a chance to Zoom without getting on a plane, and I get a chance to meet you all. And I just think it's so awesome just to meet Toastmasters all around the world. So that's why I'm here.
Great. Welcome, Colette. Well, so glad you're here.
Thank you.
And then we have Judith Ferber from Santa Monica, California.
Great. Hi, Judith.
Hello. This worked out perfectly. I actually have a meeting generally on Monday evening at 7 o'clock. And so today we didn't meet. And I thought, I saw you on Facebook. I thought, okay, let's see. Check in to another Toastmaster club. So thank you for having me. And I am looking forward to the meeting.
Great. Thank you. Welcome.
And last but not least is Frederica Alexander Durand.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, everybody coming from the beautiful island of Dominica in the Caribbean. I'm happy to be here. Was invited, yes, by Toastmaster Rosemary Sweeney. This is not my first time on your platform, but I just love the timing. Just finished with a lecture, so it was just the perfect timing to join into a late meeting.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. And without further ado, I'd like to start our meeting by introducing our Toastmaster of the day, Swarna Kalyan. Please welcome Swarna.
Thank you, Club. Thank you, Club President Cynthia. Women, who is she? She overcomes everything that was meant to destroy her. This was a wonderful definition that I thought tells so much about a woman. And today we are here to celebrate the women in this club and everyone else in the world. And also not forgetting the men who support all of us here to be this wonderful person we are. Good evening, Club President, distinguished guests, and my club fellow Toastmasters. Let us start this meeting today with a wonderful lineup of speeches, a very good keynote address, and of course, table topic session before we break out into the speech craft. Before we start all this, I'm going to invite our master leader, DTM Rosemary Sweeney, to share with us today about the leadership moment. Rosemary, your time is 3 minutes. Please pin the timer. Kadisha is the timer. Or can the Zoom master pin them together so that she doesn't miss out on the timing? Over to you, Rosemary.
I am still looking for the timer.
She's right next to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. As a young child growing up, I was raised by my grandmother, and she could not read nor write. But every afternoon after school, she would have me recount my day at school. I told her everything, and where I made errors, she corrected me. You may have a grandmother who did the same, but could read and write. This was my grandmother's challenge, but she overcame it. The superwoman I'm going to speak about was raised by her grandmother, who taught her at a very young age to memorize her Bible verses. At 2, she could be seen at her church pulpit reciting her verses. However, when her grandmother got sick, she sent her to meet her mom. Her mom left her with other family members when she went to work who took advantage of her. But in her own words, she said, wounds should be changed to wisdom. At a young age, she started working at a TV station. And in her mind, she was demoted when she was sent to work at a failing show. She changed her wounds to wisdom. And there she made that show a big, big hit. She later on went on to have a show in her name and her own television network. By now, I am sure you are guessing who. She is Oprah Winfrey. This lady did not let her wound her, but she turned it into wisdom. And today we are going to turn our wounds to wisdom, because we too will be facing challenges at times. However, these challenges should not daunt us. It should not keep us back. We must remember that growth begins at the end of our comfort zone. And so whenever you feel slighted, you feel wounded, you do not dwell on that. Because if there are no challenges, we are not going to learn, we are going to just be flowing. However, when there are challenges, we are going to overcome those challenges and we are going to grow. Oprah believes in education, and we too as Toastmasters, that's what we believe in. That's what we zoom all around the world to develop ourselves. As a matter of fact, she has a school in Africa, and in her charitable donations, she has scholarships for people who cannot afford. She did not let her wound remain. She turned it into wisdom. In 1993, there was the Oprah bill passed. And I am calling on everyone, when someone wounds you or when you feel wounded, do not stop. This is just a bump in the road, and turn it into a wisdom. Madam Toastmaster of the evening.
Wonderful sharing, Rosemary. Turn wounds into wisdom. It's a great takeaway for all of us here to remember the rest of the month by just this one powerful quote. The next segment is where the general evaluator will share with us her team, which is the timer, the evaluators, and the language evaluator. And then she will complete and show us how we are going to why is general evaluation important. General evaluation in a Toastmasters meeting helps us to improve ourselves in where we could do things better and what we have done well. And in any Toastmasters meeting, evaluation is the foundation, and general evaluation is the foundation to have a great meeting going. And now I would like to welcome again Rosemary Sweeney, who stepped in last minute. And that is the beauty of our club strengths, where we are always ready to step in when we are needed. And over to you, Rosemary, to share the general evaluation and your team.
Okay, so do I call the evaluators now?
No, you just
other than
introduced
the
who
role
they are.
players? Just the role
No,
players, right?
Yes, yeah, you just introduced them.
Okay. This evening, as Toastmasters, we already know that we do not do things on our own. And I, as general evaluator, has a team to assist me. So at this time, I call on our grammarian to describe her rule.
Thank you, General Evaluator and fellow Toastmasters and guests. The purpose of the ah counter is to notice words and sounds that are used as a crutch or pause filler for anyone who speaks. During the meeting, I will listen for overused words, including and, which is my favorite, well, but, so, and you know. I will also listen for filler sounds such as ah, I will also note when a speaker repeats a word such as I, or this means. At the end of the meeting, I'll report the number of times that each speaker used these expressions. I also have the word of the day, and the word of the day is inclusion. As a relationship coach, I work with personal and professional relationships, and I study how men and women are different and unique. And one of the words that women tend to love is the word inclusion. It's one of the reasons we have a program in the corporate world called Diversity and Inclusion. What inclusion is the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized, such as those who have a physical or mental disability or members of minority groups. In a sentence, we value and promote diversity and inclusion in every aspect of our business. So as we progress, those who use the word inclusion will get extra points. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Grammarian. At this time, we're going to call on our timer to describe her rule.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters and esteemed guests. A hallmark of effective speakers is the ability to express themselves within a specific amount of time. As timer, I am responsible for tracking every part of the meeting agenda and to ensure that all speakers speak within their allotted time. I will alert the speakers by using the green, yellow, and red lights in my virtual background. For prepared speeches, which are typically 5 to 7 minutes, I'll show the green light at 5 minutes, the yellow at 6, and the red at 7. For table topic speakers, I'll show the green light at 1 minute, the yellow at 1 minute and 30 seconds, and the red at 2 minutes. And for evaluations, I'll show the green light at 2 minutes, the yellow 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and the red at 3 minutes. If a speaker goes beyond the allotted time, that is the 30-second grace period following the red light, I will show the kaboom card and politely and kindly ask the speaker to return the virtual lectern to the Toastmaster of the day. At the end of the meeting, I'll be called on to give the timer's report. Over to you, Madam General Evaluator.
I love the kaboom card. This will ensure that we practice to remain on time. We know time is of the essence and it is very important. I now hand over to the Toastmaster of the evening. At the end of the session, my team and I will return with our report.
Thank you very much, General Evaluator Rosemary Sweeney. Friends, a most important and exciting event of today's meeting, a wonderful keynote address. And now I would like to invite our club mentor, district finance manager, and of course, our dear Linda Patton, who helps us every meeting to make sure that our meeting goes smoothly. Over to you, Linda, to introduce the keynote address speaker and take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Swarna, so very, very much. Patty and I have been friends for many years. Before COVID, we used to go up to Bacaville and have lunch, and we haven't been able to do that recently, so we've been doing Zoom. And I thought, what a better person to speak at our club on Women's History Month. Patty Vargas is an Amazon best-selling author, blogger, and frequent conference speaker on the topic of growing through change, grief, and developing personal resistance. She holds a master's degree in organizational management and is certified in the use of DISC behavioral assessments. She serves as the Chief Learning Officer for Connected Women of Influence in Southern California and is corporate trainer for the American Management Association. Patty has served in leadership roles with various women's advocacy organizations and launched the Wage Equity Project for the American Business Women's Foundation in 2014. She's spoken on the issues of parity and equality at numerous women's forums. She's also active in the recovery community, where she serves as a state lead with the Recovery Advocacy Project, a parent coach with the Partnership to End Addiction, and as a national ambassador with the Shatterproof organization. Let's put our hands together and warmly welcome Patty Vargas to our stage.
My goodness, thank you. Thank you so much. It's always like, how do I live up to my own bio, you know, if you will. So hopefully this is something that y'all can see. If you're not seeing it, then let me know. So good evening. I'm Patty Vargas, and I am really pleased to be speaking with you tonight in celebration of Women's History Month. And my topic today is badass women you may have never heard of, or maybe you heard it wrong, or you just didn't get the complete story, or you'll get it as I go along with this. You see, Women's History Month is a time set aside to recognize the unique contributions that are made to the world by women. But there are so many that it is really hard to focus on just a few, which leads to the keynote speaker's conundrum. How much can I cram into the allotted time? So I decided to take a different approach and identify just a few categories that I could focus on. So here I submit to you the final list of women that I just couldn't let go. Some of them inspired me, some of them made me sad, some of them made me laugh, and I hope that you enjoy the ride along with me. Now, the first segment is called Men Who Got the Credit, or got the credit first, or the credit they got overshadowed the credit that she should have gotten. I think you get the idea. Augusta Ada King was the daughter of Lord Byron, the famous poet. She was also, more importantly, an English mathematician who worked alongside Charles Babbage, the father of computing, on his first general purpose computer. Her notes are now considered the first computer program. But what's fascinating about Ada's contribution is how she described her approach, that of poetical science, and maybe a little bit of metaphysical science thrown in there as well. Something tells me that Ada would not be the least bit surprised at the inroads of artificial intelligence in today's computing models. Sylvia Ludington, known as the female Paul Revere, was the daughter of Henry Ludington, a militia officer and aide to General George Washington. On April 26, 1777, a messenger reached the Ludington house with news of an attack that was occurring 15 miles to the southeast, where the arms and supplies for the entire militia were stored. Well, the colonel began to organize the local militia, and it's not certain whether Sybil volunteered or if she was directed by her father. But nevertheless, her task was to rally the troops to regroup at his house by daybreak. All through the night, the 16-year-old girl rode her horse nearly 40 miles, twice the distance of Paul Revere's famous ride, on unfamiliar roads, and was able to save the militia. Now, a not so great story from this same time is the story of Peggy Shippen Arnold. Now, we've all heard of Benedict Arnold, whose very name is synonymous with treason and betrayal. But we don't hear a lot about his wife, Peggy Shippen Arnold, who actually played a pivotal role in the treachery. Peggy's family had decided to support the British for both security and financial reasons. And Arnold felt he had been passed over for promotion and his ideas were being attributed to others. And, you know, it was the old, I'm not appreciated for my talents defense. And after Peggy and Benedict wed, the couple began secretly corresponding with the British through a contact of Peggy's. She would pass letters on to the British Major John Andre, written in code and invisible ink, filled with private information about American military locations and plans. Well, Andre was captured and hanged. Arnold escaped, and Peggy went on to do whatever it is that women who facilitate treason do. Who knows? Now, I've saved the best, or probably the worst, for last in this category. Yes, Albert Einstein was a brilliant physicist, but so was his wife, Maliva Merrick. And if ever the statement behind every great man is a greater woman was true, this is probably the case. Albert and Maliva met at the Polytechnic Institute in Zurich in 1896, and they became inseparable, spending countless hours studying together. The history of their shared passion for physics has been learned from letters between them and their closest friends and family. Now, Maliva was methodical, organized, and disciplined. Albert, not so much. She helped him channel his energy and focus, or as he said, keep me in check and prevent me from meandering. At graduation in 1900, Maliva and Albert had similar grades, except in applied physics, where she earned the top mark of 5 and he only 1. But only Albert got the degree. Albert's family opposed the relationship. His father insisted that Albert find work before they could marry. But finding work was not so easy for Albert. They began their thesis work in 1900, and in December, they submitted a first article signed only under Albert's name. Why? Well, she was anxious for him to make a name for himself so he could find a job and marry her. And once they started submitting work under his name alone, it became impossible to reverse. So Albert finally gets a job in the patent office in Bern, and they married in 1903. 1905 is now known as Albert's miracle year. He published notable articles, among them the now infamous E equals MC squared. After spending 5 weeks to complete this famous article, Albert went to bed for 2 weeks while Maliva checked the article again and again and then mailed it. She told her father, "We finished an important scientific work which will make my husband known around the world," while she simultaneously told friends, "I need my wife. She solves for me all my mathematical problems." In 1908, the couple both collaborated with another scientist on an ultra-sensitive voltmeter, but when it was registered, Maliva again left her name off the patent, saying, "The two of us are but one stone." Now, their union ended badly with infidelity and abandonment, and Maliva struggled financially for the rest of her life. A sad ending to a partnership that had been based on love and mutual respect and allowed them together to produce such uncommon work. There's many, many people with extraordinary talents, but without the discipline, they just never bring it to fruition. Who knows what would have happened with Albert had he not had Maliva? This next segment I'd like to explore is in the area of activism. So maybe we'll call this Women Who Made It Hard to Ignore Stuff That Was Going On. We've all heard of Rosa Parks and her role in the Montgomery bus boycott. But 9 months before Rosa Parks was Claudette Colvin, a 15-year-old girl who refused to move to the back of the bus and give up her seat to a white person. There were many women who had refused to give up their seats on this same bus system. Most of them were fined and nothing more was said, but not Claudette. She was the first to really challenge the law. See, it was Negro History Month, and in her segregated school, they'd been studying Black leaders like Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth. They'd also been discussing their daily injustices, like, not being able to eat at a lunch counter or try on clothes in a department store. So with all of that in her mind, she leaned on her constitutional rights to sit in a seat that she had paid the fare for. And what happened next? Forcefully removed from the bus, handcuffed, threatened and mocked, and thrown into a cop car, and then taken not to a juvenile facility, but to the police station where she was locked in a jail cell. She prayed, she cried, she was scared as a child would be until her mother and her pastor arrived to bail her out. On the way home, she was terrified of the what's next, what retribution would she and her family face. But worried or not, she felt proud. She had stood up for her rights, which was something a lot of adults hadn't done. During the 1600s, the Iroquois Indian nations, a group of several indigenous tribes in North America, engaged in warfare with many other tribes. The men controlled when and against whom they declared a war. Well, the Iroquois women decided that they wanted to stop this unregulated warfare, and they came up with an ingenious way to convince the men to give them more power in deciding issues of war and peace. Their approach was two-pronged. First, the Iroquois women boycotted lovemaking and childbearing. Now, Iroquois men believed that women knew the secret of birth, which made this quite a powerful tactic, but I suspect there may have been a little bit more to the success of this approach. And the second prong was that the women began to restrict the warriors' access to supplies because they had complete control over planting and cultivating crops. The women prevented warriors from acquiring necessary supplies by withholding access. Now, although the Iroquois men controlled politics, they couldn't go to war without the necessary supplies, which were controlled by the women. The men eventually gave in to the women's demands and granted them veto power concerning all wars. This nonviolent action has been considered the first feminist rebellion in the United States, although I'm pretty sure it wasn't the last. The most famous female labor activist of the 19th century, Mary Harris Jones, was a self-proclaimed hellraiser in the cause of economic justice. She was so ever-present that a U.S. attorney once labeled her the most dangerous woman in America. Much of her activism stemmed from personal experience with dangerous and inequitable conditions in many different types of labor. She took part in organizing hundreds of strikes, and beginning in 1900, she focused on mine workers, and after a particularly violent strike, she was convinced of conspiracy to commit murder. Public appeals on her behalf convinced the governor to commute her sentence. She continued to organize miners well into her 90s. And I find it interesting that despite her strong activism, Jones did not support women's suffrage, arguing that you don't need a vote to raise hell. Although Jones organized working class women, she held them in a supportive status, maintaining that except when the union called, a woman's place was in the home. My last segment contains women that I call trailblazers, groundbreakers, and change makers. And I love this story about Stephanie Quollock, who was the inventor of Kevlar. Stephanie was an American chemist who worked for DuPont for more than 40 years. She discovered the first of a family of synthetic fibers of exceptional strength called something that I can't pronounce easily. So how did this come about? In 1964, in anticipation of a gasoline shortage, her group began searching for a lightweight yet strong fiber that would replace the steel used in tires. While producing a number of possible answers, she developed a solution that was cloudy and it was a lower viscosity. It just didn't look like a conventional polymer mediums. This sort of thing would usually just be thrown away. But Quollock persuaded the technicians to test her solution, and she was amazed to find that the new fiber would not break where nylon typically would. Not only was it stronger than nylon, Kevlar was 5 times stronger than steel. With further testing, Quollock learned that the fibers could be made even stronger by heat treating them. I'd say that's quite the accidental discovery. Annie Malone was not only the first female multimillionaire, she was the first African-American millionaire, period. Annie established the brand name hair and beauty products called Poro. And in 1916, she broke ground on a giant 4-story corporate headquarters in St. Louis that housed her retail store, laboratories, factory, and shipping departments. Essentially, it was an end-to-end enterprise employing several hundred people. Annie Malone had the idea long before the Avon model came along, commissioning teams of carefully trained women who demonstrated the products in their customers' homes. Her business grew internationally and trained and dispersed some 75,000 agents. I think it's notable that a poorly educated daughter of slaves built such an influential industry and achieved it in a time when no white woman or Black man ever came close to achieving such a feat. My last submission in this category is somewhat bittersweet in that her contribution is immeasurable in terms of impact and value, yet she was an unwitting participant. Henrietta Lacks was a Black tobacco farmer from Southern Virginia who was diagnosed with cervical cancer at the young age of 30. And without her knowledge or her consent, her tumor was sampled and sent to scientists at Johns Hopkins in 1951, where, much to their surprise, her cells never died, and the first immortal cell of its kind was created. For years, the donor was unknown, and even when it was known, the cells were codenamed HeLa, and their source was not revealed until the 1970s. Henrietta's immortal cells were integral in developing the polio vaccine, gene mapping, cloning, and in vitro fertilization. Henrietta died in 1951 at the age of 31. Her family was not made aware of the HeLa cell lines until 1975, which continues to raise concerns about privacy and patients' rights. Yet without her knowledge, she left behind a living legacy that continues to benefit humanity to this very day. So it's clear that women have been instrumental in making the world a better place. What started in 1978 as Women's History Week in Santa Rosa, California, a town that's local to many of us on this call, it spread across the country. President Jimmy Carter issued the first presidential proclamation in 1980, and in 1987, Congress declared March as the ongoing National Women's History Month. Understanding where we come from helps us appreciate where we are, as well as identify the gaps that remain. Learning the past helps us improve the future. So I hope you will join me in lifelong learning of the important role women have played in where we are today, as well as appreciate the difficulty that I had in coming up with such a short list. Thank you.
Wow.
Are we ready, Swarna? You're muted.
Oh, are you going to do Q&A?
I am going to do Q&A. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you would put your questions, comments, and those sort of things into the chat, I will pose them to Miss Patty, and we'll see what comes up. Cynthia says, so many women I never heard of, such amazing contributions. Remarkable stories. Do you feel particularly close to one of these women? And if so, why?
You know, I have a real affinity for Henrietta Lacks. It's just such a sad story that she had such an incredible contribution and yet was really taken advantage of, you know, at a time. That was just, you know, the way that it was back then. So I think that story is one that just really resonated with me and really kind of sticks with me still to this day.
And Patty, you are involved with one of the women's history groups, because I remember at one of our other associations that who will remain unnamed, you did a presentation about, it had to do with things that are said and how to say them differently and that kind of, and what organization is that from?
Well, that's the Women's History Museum here in Santa Rosa, California. So they are an arm of the National Women's History Museum. But they were really the seat of where everything began. And my involvement with them is financial support, basically. And I do get, whenever I'm going to go out and speak somewhere and I want materials and things, I get all of that from them. They're a wonderful organization. So I highly recommend that you check them out. And, you know, when things open up again, go pay them a visit.
Right. I know they have some, they do a newsletter, and they have bookmarks and all
And
sorts
a
of other
parade. They do a parade every year.
Right. And then you use some of their materials for that presentation from them.
I did.
So if you're looking for material for a presentation during Women's History Month, it's a great place to go to get information and materials, PowerPoint slides, all of that, to be able to make this happen. Okay. Maureen Xavier asks, would you see yourself fitting into one of these categories? And if so, which one?
Well, I'd like to be in all of them, but probably don't do anything that makes it worth being in one of those, except in the area of activism, because I have a hard time letting some things go, things that matter a lot to me. I'm very vocal about and like to speak about and like to get engaged with it, which is why I'm involved with so many groups, you know, working as activism in some different areas that are near and dear to my heart. So I would say I'm one of those women who makes it hard to ignore stuff that's going on. And you really didn't want to be around me much during the last campaign.
All right. I appreciate, and this is Carolyn Douglas. I appreciate the combination of women that you shared with us. What was the driving strategy for bringing this combination together? Any specific message?
Yes. So one of the things was that I wanted to talk about women that you probably hadn't heard of before. So often when you were researching a particular woman, for example, a great example is Madam C.J. Walker. A lot of us have heard of her, and you know that she was a famous African-American millionaire and, you know, made her money in hair products and beauty products and so forth. But she was actually an employee of Annie's. So Annie came first. And so I thought that was really interesting. And then the idea that we all know about Rosa Parks, but I had never heard of Claudette Colvin. So some of it is just, what have I not ever heard about? And every once in a while, I just put something in the Google search bar that was, I don't know, kind of controversial or something, just to see what would come up. So my goal was really to try to identify women that I'd never heard of before. And once I gleaned in on them, there was lots of stuff about them, but for whatever reason, we just didn't hear about them.
Right. Michelle Piticola says that it's so sad that Einstein's wife contributed so much and was left in poverty. Is that still an issue for women hiding behind their spouses?
I would say yes. And I'll tell you, the section on Maliva and Albert was my hardest part to write about, because this was a 15-minute speech, right? And there was so much data of how she was put aside, you know, and that it was not really, he did not treat her well near the end, considering that she had made such huge contributions. And there was a line that she said that just literally broke my heart, that she said she was really pleased for the notoriety that he was getting, but that the more famous he became, the less he paid attention to her. And she said, but I guess some people get the pearl while others get the shell.
Okay, and Kadisha is telling us, kaboom!
Kaboom!
I have a couple of other comments, but you can check them out in the chat, Patty.
Yes,
thank you again so very much. And I'm going
to turn this
back, actually over to the VPE, Kathleen Phil.
I'm still in love with your hero women. I'm really enchanted with them, and I'm daubing my eyes.
Thank you.
I want to share some success stories with you of members of the club For instance, our sparkling Swarna has just polished off another couple of levels 4 and 5, and she's about to knock off a Triple Crown award. And our member Rosalind Kahn just knocked off a Triple Crown and a Distinguished Toastmaster award. Pretty marvelous. She's amazing. And also, of course, our wonderful, charming Isaac Ford walked away with the contest for best speech in the area D, and he was wonderful as usual. And Rosalind Kahn waltzed away with the best evaluation award at the same contest. So just a day in the life among shining stars. And I also want to let you know for the Ides of March, in a couple of weeks, our next meeting at this hour, we have a greeter open, the role of greeter. We have general evaluator, which was beautifully demonstrated. And we have the word of the day, counter, wordsmith, grammarian, and timer, evaluator, and table topics. And I plan to make a checklist for, I'm thinking of the Toastmaster and the general evaluator. I want to make a checklist so that we can send it off to those who may not have done it 10 times already, so that we can feel confident as we proceed. So I want to ask all of you to think about it. Do you want to fill one of those roles? And I'm going to stick my pardon me while I just get this out of here. I'm going to stick my my email address in here, so that anyone who wants to ask me about a role or offer to fill a role can communicate with me through email. But at the end of the meeting, I'll ask you for to step up. And another thing I want to mention is that Swarna and I are going to work on helping people to get used to Pathways, to the Pathways program. So please use that email if you want any help, any particular attention. And Swarna and I are eager to help you with that.
And I know there's a number of people that have finished level 1 and possibly level 2. So they'll want to get in touch with you. And then can you list the roles again that we need for the March 15th?
Okay, you know what I'll do is to put it in the chat. And But I'll rattle it off if I have time. No, I don't have time. So
Okay.
I'll put it right in the chat.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for your attention. And back to Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much. Wonderful keynote address. And then we had our VP sharing some success stories from our club. For me, takeaway from the keynote address is to claim the pearl. I was really so engrossed with those stories. Wow. And thank you so much, Ms. Patty, for sharing these things with us. While we understand that the International Women's Day was to create that inclusion, to make women feel good about what we are doing, okay, and to make it as an effort to say that all of us should include women in their journey, we still have stories where women take a backseat because we maybe culturally think that the husband or the spouse needs to get the shining glory. So thank you so much for a wonderful sharing. Before we go for a break, can I invite everyone here to switch on their cameras so that we can take a photo? Rosemary? Is Rosemary here? The only person missing? Hey, okay. So Michelle, are you taking or you want me to take?
I took it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for the wonderful start to this meeting. We'll be back in 5 minutes. So you can just take this as a short break to maybe have some water, bio break, whatever. Yeah. See you again in 5 minutes. I was at office and the phone rang. Hello, Mrs. Iyer? Oh, sorry, I think you got the wrong name. Wrong person. Sorry, bye. Oh, that was a call from school, my daughter's school. Good evening, club president, fellow Toastmasters and friends. Today, I'm going to share with you what's in a name, about my name and everything around me, my family and their names. I was named Swarna because I was born in the only gold fields in India, Kolar gold fields. And my grandfather thought that that was the appropriate name because I was made in that place. So I have this name Swarna. And I'm from southern India, where we don't have the concept of a last name. So my ID would say Swarna, daughter of Kalyan, which is my father's name. And it was so for a very long time. In school, teachers always recognized us as by our first name, Swarna. And that is how it went. But globalization, multinationals coming into India, and everything else, suddenly we realized that, oh, we need to have a last name or a surname. Interesting. So I decided to drop the daughter of and just make it Swarna Kalyan. And so all my education certificates have Swarna Kalyan until I got married. And typically, I'm sure in every culture, we always embrace, women embrace the husband's name. And my husband also did not have a surname as such. So typically, it would have been Swarna Ravi, which is my husband's name. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to retain my own name, my identity that everyone knows me by, and decided to keep my name as Swarna Kalyan. Thanks to my husband, he didn't make a big fuss about it. And life went on. And so we have Swarna Kalyan and Ravi Subramanian, where Subramanian is his father's name. And when people called me as Mrs. Subramanian, I'm like, no, I'm not Mrs. Subramanian. Or when they call me as Mrs. Ravi, generally it doesn't happen that way. So it was always two different people. And people always had this doubt was, is Kalyan her last name or her first name? Is she married? Not married. Oh, well, privilege of being, having our own name. Now, then came the idea when my child was born. And my husband was working in the US. And so he gave her name as Lalita Ravi. The HR in his company got back to him and said, huh? How can your first name be her last name? Very confusing, you know. And we thought, oh, maybe we should make it easier for our daughter and come up with a last name. But we did not have a last name. So we decided to use our community name and said, okay, we will call her Lalita Iyer. And that's how you got that call that I got from school asking me Mrs. Iyer, which I do not relate to. And so that is how her name came about. Then came my son. And when it came to my son, my mother-in-law wanted to name him as Subramanian, which was her husband's name. And she said, you know, we want to keep the lineage going, right? So they wanted him to be named Subramanian. But I wanted him to have a name that I chose. And so he became Kishan Subramanian. Okay, was Subramanian the last name? You can take it whatever. But where he has his name as Kishan Subramanian. And we have now in our family, Swarna Kalyan, who's not Mrs. Kalyan, but she's Miss Kalyan. And my husband, Ravi Subramanian, and his children, our children, Lalita Iyer and Kishan Subramanian. Oh, and the stories that they can tell with their names, especially my daughter, because she's alienated. She has some name that none of us have. And so that is for another day. But friends, names are something that identify us from our birth to our death. And having it individual and having it something to claim it, I thought is very important. And for me, I cherish my name, Swarna Kalyan, although it's difficult to pronounce by some of them, but it is okay because it becomes an icebreaker. It becomes a way I can network with people and it becomes a conversation starter. And so every time I look at someone's name, I wonder, do they have a story to tell? What's in a name? Over to you, Toastmaster of the day. And I should say thanks to our VPE for telling me to share this story, because we had this discussion and she was struggling with my name. And we said, okay, let us do it as a project speech. And I hope you enjoyed it.
I think it is over to you, Swan.
Okay, now let us go to our second speaker, and the evaluation for the second speaker is done by is it Kathleen is doing your evaluation?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Kathleen, can you please read the second speaker's pathway, speech, and speech introduction? Over to you.
This is an evening of laughter, apparently, because Cynthia Stott is on the path engaging humor. She's on level 3, and this project is Connect with Storytelling. The speech is 5 to 7 minutes. And the intro is that Cynthia spent the first 40 years of her life afraid of almost everything. 5 strong phobias, including speaking and visibility. She's overcome these fears now and has taught speakers on 5 continents She is so visible that she has over 30,000 followers in more than 140 countries. But there is still one fear left for her to conquer. Let us welcome Cynthia Stott.
Maureen just reminded us that we have 1 minute of silence for her to write her evaluation. So maybe we'll leave that and then you can do a short introduction of me after.
Okay.
Sorry,
I forgot.
too.
Sorry.
I forgot.
Sorry, Maureen.
Very true. Thank you, Maureen. Okay. Now let us please welcome Cynthia Stott, kite surfing. Kite surfing, Cynthia Stott.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I'm doing this. I gotta call my friend Caroline. Oh, she's not answering. I call Mary. She's not answering. I call Josie. She's not answering. Oh, what am I doing? I can't believe I'm going kite surfing. And I'm going to be in the water this time with a jet ski. Oh, I'm terrified. Get in my car, pull out of the driveway, go to reach up to grab the garage door, and I hear a voice. It's God. You called everyone but me. Why didn't you call me? Well, I'm afraid, and I didn't know that you could help. I don't know. And God said, what are you afraid of? And I said, kite surfing. I'm afraid I could die. I have to sign in 5 places that I'm not going to sue them that my family won't sue them if I die. And I could get injured really badly. Maybe that's even worse than death. I'm really afraid. And God said, interesting. Are you afraid of looking bad? Looking bad? No, that is not on the top of my list today. I'm not worried about looking bad. And God said, good, because that could get you killed. Whoa. Okay. I'm driving down to San Mateo, gonna go to the bay, gonna go kite surfing. And I'm thinking, do I? Am I afraid of looking bad? Is that an issue for me? Well, if God asked me, maybe it is. Just in case, I need to release my beliefs around not looking bad. So I have a belief changing process that I do, and I started doing rapidly. I am not afraid of looking bad. I am not, every time I look, it looks like I'm going to look bad, and I'm going to run away from it. I'm going to go towards it. And I made those my strong beliefs. So I really focused. If at any time today I am afraid, I'm embarrassed, or I'm afraid that I'm going to look bad, I'm going to go right towards that thing because I don't want to die. So I get to my kite surfing and I'm on the back of the jet ski and I think I'm squeezing the guy to death. I'm terrified as I'm going out. And he gets me. I'm not ready to get on top of the board. I'm just getting into the water now. I used to be doing it on the sand, practicing with the kite. And that was bad enough. It was a 16-foot wingspan kite that was really hard to manipulate. But now I'm in the water and I'm going to be laying on the board and I'm going to hold the kite and it's going to drag me along. Okay, we're going along and I started getting used to it. It was kind of fun. The wind's going, I'm going fast. This is fun. Then he says, okay, now it's time to put the kite away. And he says, well, it's like peanuts. When the teacher's talking, I have no idea what he just said. And I said, oh my God, I can't tell him. I can't. I went, oops, I'm afraid of looking bad. And I say to him, okay, I know this sounds really stupid, but I have no idea what you just said. And I know it's really, really important. And I promise I'm trying to listen as hard as I can. Could you please repeat? So he says, we're going to put your kite away and you're going to be pulling the string down through the holder, the rope down through the holder. Do not move your legs. If you move your legs, the kite rope will get entwined on your legs and you're going to be and then he says, and on top of that, do not, whatever you do, even if you are entwined with rope, do not let go of the kite string. If you do, that kite will power up and it will go flying and you will be dragged with it. I'm going to go, oh my God. Okay. Do not let go of the rope. Do not let go of the rope. And do not move your legs. I try, but I move legs and I get tied up. And I not only am tied up, my feet are sucked together like a cow being roped by a cowboy, and I'm being hog-tied in the water. And I've got my life jacket on and my helmet. And if my feet go first up in the air, I'm going to be dragged underground and drowned. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. I'm so embarrassed. I go, don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. You call him now and you confess. You tell him what you did. And I said, help. He's in the jet ski, and he come over and I got tied up on the rope. I moved my legs. I'm so sorry, but you gotta help me. And so I start untying myself and I actually got most of it untied except for my ankles. That hog tying was just too much. So by the time he gets over, oh God, I'm so embarrassed. By the time he gets over, I lean back in the water and I stick my legs up in the air and he unties my ankles. Meanwhile, I'm holding on to the kite as much as I can. Don't let go. Don't let go. And he unties me. Oh, and I get back in the boat. Well, I try to get back in the boat, but there's just a little ledge on the jet ski. And so I can barely get my knees up there and I say to him again, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I need help. And he picks me up by my pants straps. Picks me up and puts me in the boat, in the jet ski. And I am so embarrassed. So that was the end of my kite surfing experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. We will give 1 minute for the evaluator to pen down the evaluation. Thank you, timer, for keeping tab of the 1 minute. Now let us move on to our interesting session, the second part of our meeting, which is the table topic session. I would like to invite our very own Sandra Lee Edwards to take of the stage and do the table topic session. Over to you, Sandra.
Sandra, you're muted.
Not anymore. I don't think. Am I?
I can hear you.
Oh,
We
great.
can hear you now.
Great. So March 8th is International Women's Day. But the way I've been hearing it today, it's a whole month. We're celebrating women a whole month. Well, I think that's great. So it's a time to spread awareness among the people regarding women's rights and gender equality. This day and this month celebrates the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. So in honor of all women, my request today for each of my volunteers is to tell us about a woman who they've been really inspired by. Could be a woman in their life or in history. But I think that'll be very interesting. So who wants to be my 3 volunteers?
And we encourage guests too.
Oh, and yes, please. Thank you for telling me that. Especially guests.
Yeah.
And they could use the word inclusion.
Inclusion. We include
use it.
all of the guests. We're including the guests. So who would like to be my volunteer?
And we can take 3 volunteers.
And we
Someone
have
that
Colette
hasn't.
and Judith.
What was the names?
Colette Hughes
Colette,
and Judith Ferber.
Judith.
I'll go.
And Kimmy is saying she will speak as well. So there are your 3.
Okay, thank you. So Colette, do you want to start by telling us about a woman in your life that's been important?
Yes, thank you all very much, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. The woman that I will speak about today is my mother. And she had 9 of us, 6 boys and 3 girls. She didn't work. She took care of us. We were her pride and joy. My father worked, and so he was away from the home most of the time because he had to take care of all of us. But the main point of my story is she had 6 of us first. And then the doctor told her not to have any more children. But then came along me. I was the 7th child. And then there were 2 other boys under me. But she had me purposely for her to take care of her. I took care of her, like as she got older. and she suddenly had a stroke. And so I had to take care of her even more. She's been gone 20 years now, and we still celebrate her. So without my mother, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be the strong person that I am, who take care of a lot of people, because I still take care of my family. I'm a real estate broker, and I take care of so many people in my community by getting them to the place where they want to live and where they want to go. And I have compassion for them because of all the compassion that I learned from my dear mother. Her name was Alice, and she was grand. And thank you very much for this opportunity to speak before you about my mother. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Well, thank you. That was very beautiful. I like that.
Thank you.
Mothers are always to be celebrated, aren't they?
Yes.
So Judith is my next volunteer.
If I volunteered, yes. Thank you.
Where are you? There you are.
Here I am. Oh, it's the same question?
Yes.
Well, I can't say that I had one woman, but I should say many women have influenced my life pretty much from high school on today. I had a difficult life and childhood with my mother, and I found other women in my life who took her place. I had wonderful relationship when I was a teenager. We had something similar to big sisters, and I had relationship with them. As I grew up, I had several women in my life who have greatly influenced who I became. I am Hungarian. I came to this country when I was in early 20s, and I met a woman in one of my clients. I am an esthetician. When I was very young, who became almost adopted me like her other child, and this relationship lasted for 45 years or so until she passed away a couple of years ago. And I must say that she has been an artist and an intellectual woman who had a great influence in my life. So my life has fortunately had a group of women in all my different stages of my life who've been very influential for me, and I am really quite grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really a beautiful story. Well, you found a way to have mentors and caretakers and people in your life throughout. That's great. Kimmy, you want to tell us about your women?
So as I was listening to everybody, I kept thinking about all the women in my life, and one woman stands out.
Are you muted, Kimmy?
No, I'm not muted. You can't hear me?
I can.
I can hear.
Okay. And one woman stands out to me, and that is my grandmother. My grandmother passed away in 2001, and she was the linchpin that held our family together. Not only that, she held our friends together. Her house was this open haven for everybody we knew. She'd lived in Brazil. She'd lived a warm, open home. So we always had an inclusive home where everybody was welcome. She would pick up strays. The professor of my uncle who went to Stanford, the professor became her best friend. She went to Mills College and women from Mills became her best friend, and so on and so forth. And at her funeral, we were standing in a circle around the memorial site. And I said, well, I lived in the cabin at my grandmother's house. I was taking care of her. And every single person in that circle stood up and said, well, I lived in the cabin with Granny Nanny at one point, not in the back of the house, not in the house with her, but she had such a welcoming presence. And her favorite line when you would show up to the house was, oh, darling, so wonderful to see you. Everybody felt like they were her best friend. And that is a legacy that I try to carry forward, because it was really one of the most welcoming, beautiful people I've ever known. Granny Nanny is what we called her. Thank you.
Granny Nanny, how wonderful. I want to know Granny Nanny too. Sounds great. What am I supposed to do now? Somebody, please tell me.
Just turn it back over to Swarna.
Back to you, Swarna.
Thank you so much, Table Topic Master. Thank you so much, Sandra, for making us all think about that one woman who was behind us all. And I think by default, we all think of our parents, mother, and lovely stories of grandmothers who have influenced also. So we heard in the beginning of the speech, we heard Rosemary share about her grandmother, and we had here, grandmother stories. So I guess women have always been influential. It's just that we don't see them in front, and we should start seeing them and celebrating them. And this month is about celebrating women. So let us all do it. Remember everyone who has been special for us. Before I hand over the stage to our general evaluator, I want to thank our club president and VPE for helping me to step out of my comfort zone and do this role today. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed the meeting so far, and I'm going to hand over to our general evaluator, DTM Rosemary Sweeney. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the evening. At this time, we at our evaluation section, and I will call on our first evaluator, Maurice Xavier, to evaluate Swanee. It's not Maurice.
Thank you very much, Rosemary.
Maureen, sorry for that.
That's perfect. It's all good. So Swarna, what an amazing speech you gave today. You are a true treasure. So it's amazing that your name is gold. They already must have known what a treasure you would become when they named you. What I loved about your speech is many, many things. The first thing I loved was the immediate phone call, the name, I felt the scene. I loved how you used your facial expressions a variety of times throughout the course of the speech. I loved knowing confusion, independence, you making your own rules and practices in the world. From that speech, I got a real indication of the kind of woman you are. I also loved being introduced to the different cultures and heritages you came from and where you have lived. While I don't think there's anything you need to work on or should work on, there are a few things that as I was sitting with your speech, I'd love to know more about. One would be, what is it like for your children to have the different names, each of them having a different last name. Another thing that might be a stretch for you would be, since it's a humorous speech, is to tell us a joke that may come from your voice, from your husband's voice, from one of your children's voices, from the teacher that called you asking for you, and you're like, no, this isn't me. So that would be an amazing thing for me as a recipient of your speech to hear from you. I'm also sitting here thinking about if there's anything else I would have liked to have known more about in your speech. I did notice maybe if there were more demarkable pauses in between each one of the children. So this child has this, and getting to know more about that child, if the name you think may have had a difference in who they are. And all around, honestly, it was such a pleasure to listen to your speech. You naturally generated a lean in from me. You're such a natural conversationalist. Your energy is so inviting. And I literally felt myself on the edge of the seat wanting to know more during and through your speech. So thank you very much, Swarna. Madam Evaluator, back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Zavi. And now we have Kathleen Phil to evaluate our surfer Cynthia.
Caitlin, you're muted.
You're mute.
I'm still laughing, and I don't know whether to laugh or cry. I don't know whether to split my seams from laughter or from fear. It was quite a hilarious ride. I already was captured by just the title, a one-word laconic title, kite surfing. I didn't even really know what kite surfing is, but I had some idea. Let's see. I better hold on for dear life. One word like that is inclusive of all possibilities. So my mind expands out, and I went into your talk with that expanded view. Where are we going to go? What's going to happen next? I felt the buzz. I really felt the buzz of fear and cortisol just all through my muscles right away. Almost when you were before God got hold of you, before God got your attention. I loved being scared. I could smell the salt water and the smell of fear. And I got kind of vulnerable. I got open to the deep conversation that I'm having with my maker as I ride on this bumpy ride with Cynthia. So it was really fun and beautifully polished for a first time, and for your next iteration, when you develop it even better, I think what you'll want to do is to keep a continuous through line of that relationship to what am I doing and what am I learning out of this? So God is definitely talking to you, and I think that moral of the story is going to show up at the end, but you'll have a through line all the way through. Really fun. Madam Evaluator, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you. God will speak with us and carry us through. At this time, I call on our grammarian, Kimmy, to give her report.
Okay, I have the word of the day, inclusion. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm still getting an error message. So the word of the day was inclusion, and Kathleen used it once, Sandra used it twice, and I used it once. I did not hear it in other places, but I could have missed it in the other speakers because they were so riveting. From Patty to Swarna to Cynthia, I literally was so engrossed in each of the presentations. I may have missed it. So you get a pass there. Patty, you had 2 uhs, 1 1 like, and 1 repeated phrase. And I did not catch the phrase, but I made a note. Swarna, 1 1 8 so's. So is a beautiful joining piece that we use colloquially. I started my table topic with a so, and we can overuse it. I think it links things together, but probably not in speaking. Toastmasters doesn't like it. Maureen, you had 1 3 so's, and at one point you said into. So you used the word into twice during your evaluation. Cynthia had 1 so. Whoops, I messed up. Cynthia was the one who said 2 intos. And Maureen had said 2 whens, and then 2 ands. Again, that's, like I said, that's my favorite one that I use. So they want us to watch for that. Kathleen had 1 2 ums, 1 so, 1 inclusion, I mentioned that, and 4 ands in her evaluation. Colette had 1 so and 1 and in her table topic, and I had a so and an inclusion. Thank you. Back to you, Rosemary, General Evaluator.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Grammarian, for pointing out our source, because most time we do that, we are not even aware that we are saying those things. At this time, I call on our timer to give her report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, and I'll be laconic this evening. My timer's report is as follows. Our speakers, our keynote speaker, Patty Vargas, spoke for 14 minutes and 49 seconds. Swarna Kayla, 6:45. Cynthia Stott, 7:35. For table topics, Colette Hughes, 151. Judith Ferber, 209. Kimmy Avery, 158. And our evaluators, Marine Xavier, 252. And last but not least, Kathleen Phil for 3 minutes and 22 seconds. That's my report. Over to you, GE.
Thank you so much. I must thank my group of evaluators, my team. We included everyone, and our meeting It was a great meeting. This evening, our meeting started, and I must commend Cynthia and Linda for ensuring that prior to the meeting, all rules were filled. So whether someone was there or was not there, our meeting flowed smoothly because all rules were filled prior to the meeting, and this saved time. Our guests were warmly greeted and asked to participate, to introduce themselves so that we know about them. They were also invited to be part of our meeting. They were even asked to be present during our table topic session. I think our president also gave the email address so they can put their names in, and they can be part of our meeting in the future. Everything about our meeting flowed. From the time I spoke about grandmother, the table topics came about mother. Our keynote speaker, I learned so much from her in that most of the women she spoke about, I'd never heard about them and the great things they have done. This month is really an eye-opener where we can know that behind every man, there is a successful woman and somebody pushing him on. And this was shown vividly in what our keynote speaker said to us. I also enjoyed that kite surfing spinning presentation by Cynthia, but the surnames, that's the first time I have heard that we can just choose our surname, and how independent that feels. You can just choose your surname off the bat, really like Shakespeare, what is in a name. Overall, I found our meeting flowed smoothly, and I wish to see us back at our next meeting and have an awesome meeting like this one. I now hand over to our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Goldie.
Okay, so now, oh, you picked it up very fast, Ali. Okay, so now is our time for our virtual chocolates and the fun that we end with. So I would like to invite our club president, Cynthia, to take the stage. Yeah?
Kathleen needs to enlist meeting roles. I know she put them in the chat, but she gets one more chance.
I'll give you my email address again, and I once again invite anyone and everyone who wants a little help, has a question about pathways, so that Swarna and I can give you particular attention and make this fun and easy. And that will make the role playing more fun and easy. Speaking of which, who would like to be a greeter in our upcoming meeting on March 15th, the evening, California time evening?
Michelle, maybe you unmute. You want to say something? We can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, I can be a greeter.
Okay, Michelle, thank you.
I don't know if I can be anything else because I'm not sure what Cynthia wants me to do in terms of the speechcraft. If I'm not doing the speechcraft, I'm happy to.
All right. Okay, you're a hero. And
what are the other roles? Can you just name them off?
Yeah, who would like to be a general evaluator? That was a marvelous job you did, Rosemary. Yeah. Beautiful job.
And what's the other ones that we need?
Yes, so we can use a couple of evaluators. And I see Ms. Kadisha Curry. What would you like to do, Ms. Kadisha? We have evaluator. We have table topics master. We have, you get to choose the word of the day. If you want to do the word of the day grammarian, or you could be that do that magnificent work of being the timer, but maybe you want to branch out.
Yes.
Okay, 1 minute.
What would you like, Ms. Kadisha?
Is GE taken?
I would be delighted to put you in GE.
Yes. Okay, 1 minute, 30 seconds.
All right, and
table topics.
Okay,
Table
thank
topics
you,
for
Ms. Kimmy. Thank you very much.
Anyone else
I
for
can be the
evaluator? What'd you say?
I could be the timer.
Thank you.
Isaac?
Thank you very much.
Any evaluators?
Barbara, unmute yourself.
I can be one.
Am I too new to be an evaluator?
You can be an evaluator in the speechcraft. That would be great.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Barbara. I'm thrilled about that. We'll put you right in there.
Sandra also
Good for you.
Sandra volunteered for what?
Evaluator.
Evaluator.
Thank
Okay,
you,
great.
Ms. Varna. Okay.
No, that was Sandra Edwards.
Oh, well, Sandra, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Sandra. And I loved your table topics. You and I talked, and you talked about, we talked about all these heroic figures, and you talked about who's the mother, who's the homemaker, and then everybody talked about the mother and the homemaker.
And Sally, would you be the grammarian?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Sally.
Yay, great.
Yay,
So with that
Sally.
it, let's move on.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you, my friend.
Kathleen. Thank you, everybody, for volunteering. Awesome. And the only announcements we have are the division contest is coming up, and Isaac is going to be competing in that, and so is Rosemary. Rosemary will be backup because she's won second place in evaluation, but Isaac will be competing for the division contest, and maybe he's going to go on to the district, the semifinals, and the world championship. I really hope so. Awesome. So that's the evaluation contest is March 11th at 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And the International Speech Contest is on March 18th from 6 to 9:30 as well. So it's going to be really fun. I think we're going to have 5 contestants each. Exciting nights. Anything else, Linda? Can you think of anything else? Okay, so now it's time for virtual takeaways and virtual chocolates. And I want to hear from some of the men. They've been quiet the whole time. So yeah. I would like to hear, Isaac, would you like to share what you're taking away from tonight?
Well, I guess when I heard the table topics with everybody speaking of the powerful ladies in their life, I take away that. I was too shy to say, but my Aunt Bert was my powerful lady in my life. And she gave me some great advice the first day I got married. She said, Isaac, just remember one thing. Women can outthink a man 5 to 1.
Yes.
I took most of that advice. Sometimes I was a little hard head, but that's the takeaway I got.
Great. Would you like a virtual chocolate?
Yes.
Oh yeah, here it comes. No calories, no sugar, no guilt. Would you like to share, Curtis?
Thank you very much. I was just scanning the room and realized I was the last guy to be called, so I couldn't avoid it much longer. I found the meeting really interesting, though, especially from a recognition of all the important women in our lives, and my mom does come to mind as well. I'm in the typical, single parent home is how I grew up. My mom kind of doing everything for us, and she raised myself and my sister in some pretty challenging times, and I think she did a pretty good job. I was a terrible outcome of the family, so I think she did a really good job, and I really salute all the women and the hard work that they have to do, raising families often in less than ideal situations and still coming out on top. So really, really salute all the women here and all the women around.
Thank you, Curtis. Do you want a chocolate?
Oh, most definitely.
Here
I'll
it
take two.
goes. 1, 2. You can have seconds, no calories.
You.
And would one of our guests like to share what they're taking away from today? Maybe Judith, would you like to share?
Well, all I can say is that I love the energy that the group has. Certainly, it's been really wonderful. I love the theme of women. I am a member of the Professional Women Toastmasters in Los Angeles for many, many, many years. It's been started with women, actually for women. We had 2 men, now we only have 1 man in our club, but mostly women like to join because they enjoy the networking, the camaraderie of other women. So that's been really, the theme worked for me quite well, and I did enjoy the speeches as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope you come back to visit us again sometime soon.
Thank you.
Great. Would you like a virtual chocolate?
Absolutely. I love chocolate.
Here you go. Woohoo!
Thank you. That's great.
We do them virtually. We used to do them in person. We actually had chocolate to deliver, but when we're in augmented reality here. Awesome. Anyone else like to share?
How about
more of our
Madam Carolyn Douglas?
Carolyn.
This has been a really fun meeting and I've enjoyed it. I love the stories, every last one. I loved having my curiosity expanded with the women who were shared about. I'm going to do a bit of plagiarism, so I want to let you know straight off. This was really good for Women's History Month. And I'm going to take those names and use them for a presentation with my church. Awesome. And I love the humorous stories. I love having my funny bone humor. It's been a really great meeting and I've enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Carolyn.
Thank you so much. Would you like a virtual chocolate?
Of course.
Here you go. Woohoo!
I received it.
And let's see, anybody else?
You could ask Colette. She's our other guest who's here.
Colette, would you like to share what you're taking away?
Well, I'm just taking away a great meeting and great to meet my Toastmaster family around the world. And that's what I'm taking back. It's about 11 o'clock p.m. So it's kind of been a long day for me, but I enjoyed every moment of this particular meeting. It's a great start to Women's History Month for me. And I am going to be Toastmaster of the Day tomorrow at one of my clubs. So I am definitely taking this theme and I'm going to use it tomorrow for our meeting as well. So this thing will continue on at Royal Oak Toastmasters.
All right. And we do have an afternoon session at 11 a.m. Pacific to 1 p.m. Pacific. So that might fit your time frame a little bit better as well. So would you like a chocolate?
Absolutely.
There you go. Woo!
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Anyone else?
We haven't heard from Misty Forsman today.
Misty.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm having a very interesting time noticing how Toastmaster clubs organize themselves. In my original club, which is from San Rafael, California, called Talk of the Town, several of us have made it a mission to travel around the world to different Toastmaster clubs. I've made it all the way around the world. And one of our other members has done the same. We are gathering for a get-together this week in person. Thankfully, we can do that to a certain extent. And comparing notes and making sure that we may give our club members the information on how to join clubs and visit in many, many places. It's a much different world when you touch base with individuals in each of the many, many places where Toastmasters meet. It is part of becoming what I call a world citizen.
Yeah.
It is part of what I hope is the emerging culture of cooperation, collaboration, and communication.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I had a chance to be to serve on a contest in Basel, Switzerland, and that was just really amazing to get the different culture. And even they did a table topics that was in German. They said, "How's your German?" I said, "Not so good." Would you like a chocolate, Misty?
Always.
Oh, here you go. Woohoo!
Got it. Thank you.
And we have it's time for one more quick one.
Elle, are you there?
Yeah, our demo speaker, she did her last speech of level 1, and next time she's going to be an evaluator. So she'll be completing her level 1. Elle, are you there? No?
Yes, she's there.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Elle, what are you taking away from today?
Hi, ladies. What am I taking from today? Your wonderful energy, Michelle's wonderful organization in the breakout room, and Barbara's a wonderful table topic.
Oh,
awesome.
As well as the keynote, of course. Keynote was amazing. Such a great reminder. Absolutely wonderful, beautiful, powerful ladies we can learn from.
Great, great. Would you like a chocolate?
Of course.
Woohoo!
Yeah, you got it. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations on finishing 4 speeches in our Speechcraft as our demo speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Well, that's all for today, folks. Hope you have a wonderful evening or morning, afternoon, wherever you are. And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
You may start now.